I'm Joel Rutherford, and today we're going to talk a little bit about construction drawings. It's just sort of an introductory lesson here, so we're going to just take it from there. Okay, first of all, we have a definition of construction drawings. Construction drawings are architectural drawings that are used to represent a structure or system. They're detailed and they show every detail of a project, all the way from the location of the building to the size of the screws that may be placed on certain components. So they're pretty detailed, and you need to be knowledgeable before you start using construction drawings. This is not really something you can sort of just talk your way through without knowing what you're actually talking about. Now there's several different types of construction drawings. There's civil drawings, architectural drawings, structural, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, and fire protection. Now, the fire protection is normally included with the electrical drawings, or it may be left out altogether. Okay, now when you talk about construction drawings, you've got 5 parts of a specific drawing. Those parts start with the title block, the border, the drawing area, the revision block, and the legend. So we're going to talk about each of these little parts. Okay, the title block has essentially 2 purposes. It gives information about the structure assembly, and also its number so that the print can be filed and kept up with easily. The information contained in the title block would have the company logo. The company that prepared the drawings would have their logo. The title of the sheet, whether it's a structural drawing or foundation plan or electrical plan, it would have the title on there. The date the drawing was checked and ready for seal. It has the initials of the person that drew it. The drawing numbers, which is a code assigned to the actual drawing. It'll have the scale and the revision blocks on it. We're going to talk about these just a little bit. Okay. Now, if you look, this is a drawing. This is a plumbing plan that's being shown right here. And right down here in the bottom right corner, you can see the title block. And we're going to zoom in here and have a close-up view of this title block right here. Now, this would be where the logo or the company name is. This is where you put the sheet, the seal, the sheet title or drawing title, drawn by, that's the initials of the person that drew it. It's just got a lot of information on here. This is the revision block up here, and we're going to talk about the revision block here in just a minute in a little bit greater detail. Now, drawings have a border, and that border is there so that we know nothing was left off the drawing. And you can see here's the border going around it. If it didn't have the border, you can see right here this seems to go off the page a little bit. There might be some confusion in thinking something was left off of this drawing, but that border allows us to know that everything has been included. The drawing area, that's just where the drawing is. So the drawing area would just be the white area in the middle. Okay. Revision block is part of the title block, and it's used to record any changes to the drawing. This is a revision block here. Okay, just this area here. And what they would do if they revised this drawing and made some changes to it, they would write here the type of revision they made, and then they would write their initials here and the date. I'm sorry, the initials over there and the date would go here. So the legend just identifies the different symbols that are on the drawing. It could be a line type or a duplex receptacle. It could be a lot of different things, but the legend is what shows what those symbols actually mean. Now that we've talked a little bit about the parts of a specific drawing, we're going to talk a little bit about the different types of drawings. First type we're going to talk about is civil drawings. Civil drawings are plans that are used for work that is done in or on the earth. So we can see this is a civil drawing right here. You can see it shows the building pad. Here we have two buildings. It shows, I guess I would assume this is some kind of asphalt. These are trees. So that's kind of what it shows, a civil drawing shows. A civil drawing will have contour lines that show the elevation of the property, and it would have existing contour lines, which tells you what the site's like before construction begins, and it would have a plan that shows you the contour lines so that you know what the contours of the land is after construction. Now you can see right over here in this right-hand corner the legend, and that tells you what these symbols mean over here. So just another little note there. Okay, architectural plans show the design of the project. It'll have floor plans, elevations, sections, and details are all architectural drawings. We're going to talk just a little bit about those. Now, an elevation shows us what the project or building will look like when it's completed. So you can see, just looking straight at this building, that is the elevation. They have front elevation, rear elevation, and side elevation. It just shows you the different sides of the building. Okay. Now, a section shows what the inside of a building would look like if part of it were cut away. Now, you can have a wall section, which would show you what the inside of a wall looks like. Many different types of sections. Pretty much you can section anything, and it's just going to give us information about how that particular item is constructed. In this example, they've cut, you can imagine cutting the house in two and taking part of it away. Now we can see inside how everything's constructed. We can see how this fireplace is constructed. We can see how the roof system is to be constructed. So that's the purpose of a section drawing. Now, a detailed drawings can show smaller parts of a building or structure in a close-up or enlarged fashion. So you can see right here we've got a detail of the cornice on this particular building. All right, structural plans. Structural plans are engineered drawings, and when we say engineered, a licensed engineer that's gone to school to become an engineer has designed the structure of a building, structure being what holds it up, and has signed off stating that the structure is safe and that the materials that he has chosen in designing that building can withstand the loads that it will be subjected to. Structural plans show the materials for the constructing the walls. They could be concrete, masonry, or other materials. All right, and here's an example of a structural plan. This is a foundation plan, and you can see here there are piers in the middle of the footprint of the building that will help to hold it up, and it also shows the foundation going around it. So that would be an example of a structural drawing. Now, when we talk about mechanical plans, these are also signed off on by an engineer. If it's an industrial setting, pumps and motors, piping systems, and it also includes HVAC and electrical drawings. And when I say HVAC, I mean heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Also, plumbing drawings would be included under the heading of mechanical plans. This is an example of a mechanical plan, and it shows the ductwork in this particular building so that we can get air to all of the areas that need it. That's why we have a HVAC drawing. Plumbing plans are going to show you the layout for the plumbing system. It's going to show you where the hot water and cold water line goes, and it's also going to include drawings for the wastewater. Here's an example of a riser diagram on plumbing. You see it's got a water heater, water closet with us a toilet, a lavatory here. This is a bathtub, and you can see, if you look at this, you can see more closely where the cold water comes into the building. So that's an example of a plumbing plan. Now, electrical plans or engineered plans that show the supply of electrical to a building. Here's an example of an electrical plan. It shows ceiling fans, it shows receptacles, it shows recessed lighting here, and these dotted lines that go from ceiling fan to the switches, those are the circuit lines. It shows you shows the electrician how to lay up a circuit line. Here's another one that's a little bit more close up, a little more enlarged. And it's got a legend on here, so it tells us what these symbols that are on this drawing actually mean. Okay. Now, specifications come in a book format, and they're used to clarify information that can't be found on the drawings. Now, these, I've seen specifications for projects that were 6 inches tall, and they give so much information. They will tell what grade of rebar is required. They will specify what manufacturer and model of light fixtures, water heaters, toilets. They even tell you what type of wire to use, what type of conduit to use, what mix to use on the concrete. Tells the contractors whether they need to use more or less water in their concrete, things of that nature. These are very in-depth. It has a lot of technical language in it. It's not the kind of thing that you would want to read for pleasure. And if you don't sort of know what you're talking about on this, when you're reading specifications, if you haven't had some experience with them, you probably wouldn't be able to make much sense out of it. So it takes a little work to understand specifications. All right, now, RFIs. An RFI is a request for information. And these are used to help clarify discrepancies that are found in a set of drawings. And they're also used to answer questions. If the guys that are out performing the work have a question for the architect, what they would do is transfer these questions to the foreman or to their boss, and the boss would produce an RFI and send that on to the architects or engineers. The engineers would then answer the question or clarify whatever the case may be, and that gets sent back to the person that asked the question, and it also gets sent back to other contractors that may be affected by that RFI. Okay, now what I would like for you all to do now is turn to the back of your worksheet, and there should be a RFI on the request for information, a blank request for information. And what I want you to do is imagine that you're an electrician and you're working on a project. In the course of your day, you found out that a light fixture is conflicting with the location of an HVAC register. A register is where the air is blown into a room. It's kind of like a grill. So those little things that are in the floor and the ceiling of everyone's house. And I want you all to fill out the RFI and turn it in. Now, I know you probably have some questions about it. So right now, I'd just like for you to take a few minutes and look over that RFI. Think about what you might put in the certain sections. And then in just a minute, we're going to take a minute and I'm going to show you how to fill one of these out. So just go ahead and do that now. Okay, if you need more time, just pause the video now, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this. Now, the number one thing that I would like to point out to you all is when you're filling out, if it's an RFI or job application, a credit application, any form that you fill out, I want to encourage you to do it neatly and legibly. Use your best handwriting, because when you fill out one of these forms and a person looks at the form, then they develop an opinion and an idea about what you're like as a person. So we always want to try to leave a good impression, and being neat in our communication is one way to do that. Now, if you'll look right here, right at the very top is the project, and that's whatever job you're working on. This is, we put in Rinker Hall because that's the project that's in the book. Below that, it has the location, and that's just the general location that you have a question about, and that helps the architect or engineer to find it in the drawings so that they can see what you're looking at and what you're talking about. From would be the electrician that is asking the question. Doesn't have to be an electrician. It's just essentially it's the contractor that has a question. Could be a masonry contractor, HVAC, anyone. It's got over here where it says PM, that stands for project manager. That would be his name, his phone number, his fax number, okay? And it's being sent to good old boy contractor. That's the contractor, okay? The way this works is the subcontractors, electricians, plumbers, HVAC guys, they will send their questions to the general contractor. The general contractor may be able to answer it. If he can't, he sends it on to the architect. So we would put our general contractor's name here, who you're sending it to that works for the general contractor. Normally it'll be the project manager. Here we're asking for direction. Now we could be asking for just something to be clarified or approved, okay? Below that is the probable effect. Is it a cost increase, a cost decrease, or no cost change, okay? So now, let's go on down here to the body of this RFI. Here we're listing the drawings, reference drawing number 1, but let's read right here where it says information needed. The center light fixture in the first floor lobby is in the same location as the HVAC register, which cannot be relocated per mechanical contractor. Please advise. Okay. So we're asking, we're pointing out the problem that the electrical fixture is conflicting with the location of the HVAC register. We've talked to our mechanical guy about moving his register, and he says it can't be moved. So we're asking the architect, can we move the light fixture? What would you like us to do, essentially? And what he's going to do is he's going to fill out this bottom part, and he's going to send it back to us. And his recommendation is to move the entire row of light fixtures so as not to interfere with the HVAC register. All right? So that's kind of what's going on here. This will be sent back to the electrician, and he can make changes to his work as necessary. Okay, let's talk just a minute about scale. When we are looking at construction drawings, we use a scale, and what it boils down to is that on the drawings you may have 1/4 of an inch that equals 1 foot. So if a building were 10 by 10, then it would be 2.5 inches on the drawing. Okay, 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And you know the reason for that is obvious. Fit it on a piece of paper to make it manageable. Architect scale is usually 1/4 inch per foot for floor plans, and you know the scale can become bigger the more details is drawing. So we may have a situation where if we're using 1 inch equals a foot, obviously that's going to give us a lot more detail then, it's something that's like a 1/4 inch per foot, okay? Okay. Now, an engineer scale is usually used on civil drawings, like site plans, and it's going to be a much larger scale. So we might have, whereas on an architect's scale, you would have a 1/4 inch equaling a foot. An engineer is going to be something like 1 inch equals 20 feet. So you're not going to get near the amount of detail with an engineer scale. But since you're doing a site plan, you usually don't need quite as much detail. And if there's a situation where on an engineer's drawing where they need more detail, they can just use a different scale and they'll supply them a little bit more detail. Here's an example of an architect scale. And this is a floor plan, okay? And it's usually, like I said, a 1/4 inch per foot, or something in that range. And there's an engineer's scale. A little bit different if you look at them. This is, you can see here where on this section here, that's 3 inches equals a foot. This looks like 3/4 equals a foot. And here's 1 inch equals a foot. For an engineer's scale, this, where it has the 10 here, that tells us that 1 inch equals 10 feet. Where it has the 50 here, 1 inch equals 50 feet. So you can see you're not going to get near the detail with an engineer's scale. And there's the site plan. Okay, let's talk about some line types. We've got several different types of lines when we're reading construction drawings. Dimension lines are used to show the dimension of a certain part. Leaders and arrowheads will point to specific components on a drawing, and it may refer to a note, it may refer to a legend, it could be a keynote that gives us a little more information. Property lines indicate the boundaries of the drawing. Section cuts, we talked about sections earlier, and that will indicate specific where of a drawing is being referred to another drawing where it's kind of like you cut part of it away and look into the inside of it. Break lines will tell you where a part's been broken off to save space. Hidden lines will tell us where something is that cannot be seen. For instance, if we have that showed a wall and something was in the wall, but when you're looking at the drawing, you can't see it, they would indicate that with a hidden line, and it's usually a dotted line. Center lines will show the center of an object, and an object line is the type of line that's used to indicate the main part of the drawing that you're looking at. Okay, and here's some examples of these. You can see they're different. We've got some dimension lines here, some leaders and arrowheads. I got a property line, cut line, several different types. Okay, now a break line and a hidden line. This is a good example of a hidden line right here. Okay, this is a metal tube, okay? Now, these dotted lines are the hidden lines that show the inside diameter of that pipe, okay? Now, you wouldn't be able to see these if you were looking at a pipe, so that's why they're there. Here we have some center lines that are showing us the center of these two portions. Over here are section lines. Now, if you look right here, you can see that there's a line going across here and two arrowheads pointing up that say A. And what that's telling us is if we look at drawing A, okay, it will show that this portion has been cut in two, and you could look at the side of it as if it were cut in two. And here's section AA. So that's kind of how those section lines work. Here's an example of leaders and arrowheads. You can see these. is showing a dimension line, and that arrowhead is showing a projection line. Okay, keynotes. Now keynotes are normally found in squares or circles, and you can see these are little squares. So I got this 3, and it's inside a square, and it's pointing back over here to where these keynotes are. That tells us that 3 indicates a 6-inch diameter pipe column. And you can see it right there. There's that 6-inch diameter pipe column. The other thing I'd like to point out to you on this drawing is this break line right here, okay? And what they've done there is they're just saving space, okay? This pipe could be 20 feet tall, and there's no need to show that whole 20 feet because it would just be 2 lines running up the paper and it'd be a waste. So they use a break line and they don't have to show the entire thing. Let me point out too this section line here, okay? This is got, it says AS-3. What that's telling us is if we look on page S-3, which is a structural drawing, number 3, S-3, the detail is A. Okay, so we're going to look on A, look at A on page S-3. What it will be, see this line here and the arrowhead pointing back that way, is it will be as if this were cut away and that part of it taken away, and we were looking at this side of a beam going this way. And right there it is, okay? That's S-3. You see how we can see part of this pipe here at the bottom? And we're looking at this beam from its edge. And that's done to help us get information about how a certain thing is built and put together. Okay, grid lines. These are used a lot of times on foundation plans, and they're used to help us find certain places and used to help with clarity on construction drawings. Now, they've taken out let me back up here. You can look down one side, we've got A, B, C, D, okay? And then across the top, we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, you might notice that the number 1 is missing, all right? And the reason for that is because 1 could possibly be confused with I. And when you're talking about millions of dollars here, you've got to do everything that you can to avoid confusion. Construction projects, there's a lot of people that are investing a lot of money in a construction project, and architects and engineers have to be as clear as they possibly can. So that's the reason that I, O, Q, 1, and 0 are always left out of a grid line system. And the way a grid line works is if we're going to talk about B3, we find B and 3, and it's this area. This is bay, B3. That's what they're called as bays. Just that area right there that's served by that column. Okay, dimensions. Now it may seem a little obvious, but dimensions are always written as numbers. And they're going to show the size and placements of different objects. And that is the end of our discussion regarding construction drawings. And I hope you've learned something from this. And please complete your worksheets and study guides, and we'll turn those in, and we'll be taking a test on this. So thank you again.